And now TSPN presents Open Mic Friday with Mike Spence and Butter.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Spence, and it's Open Mic Friday. And we've got a great guest this week. As usual, we go out and we get the best guests we can. And today we have Joe Dirickx. And Joe, welcome to Open Mic Friday.
Well, thank you for having me.
We've known each other around the county, and for most people who don't know Joe personally, he's the owner-operator of Gold Country Firearms, which is one of the only agencies, I think, that works on instructions in terms of concealed weapons permits and firearms.
That's
and
correct.
Training people on how to become more familiar with their firearms and providing those instructions. And I know that you've done it out of Denny's. You go to classes down there for years. How long have you been in the county performing that service, Joe?
A little bit over 9 years.
Almost 10 years. Yeah, that's quite a while. And before that, you were in law enforcement, I believe?
Yes, and in between law enforcement and doing this, I'm also your local bail bond agent. So.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you have a lot of experience with the legal process and how that all works.
Yes.
Does that frustrate you sometimes when you watch that over the years and how things have changed and developed?
It's a sad state of affairs when somebody calls me and their name is in my computer, repeat offender, doing life on the installment plan.
Right. Right.
Our judicial system, it's not perfect. It is the best in the world, but there's room for a lot of improvement.
There's a lot of reality down at the courthouse, but, before people get out there, just regular residents in Amador County who normally are law-abiding citizens, and they want to get a concealed weapons permit or learn how to operate and handle their firearm better. Your classes are provided year-round, and you provide a great service there.
Well, thank you. We try to hold our courses the first Saturday of every month, unless that falls on a 3-day weekend, and we bump it back to the second or third Saturday. And what the people have to figure out here in the foothills is we're really lucky to have a sheriff like Martin Ryan, an undersheriff like Jim Wagner, chief of police like Scotty Morrison. They're firm believers in the Second Amendment, the right for a person to defend themselves. In reference to the CCWs, no, they do not hand them out like candy, okay? But for those that take a course, our course or one similar, okay, where the curriculum has been approved by the local law enforcement agencies, and they pass, they get a pretty good chance of being issued a permit.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who take those courses and they go out to the range to qualify, and I know that a lot of them don't qualify. It's not just an automatic, and you fill out some paperwork and you get a license to carry a firearm. And you mentioned Sheriff Ryan. I have to agree with you there. We have one of the best sheriffs imaginable for Amador County in Sheriff Ryan. I did read he had sent out a few letters regarding all of these new laws that are being proposed, and there are several. But he had sent a letter to Governor Brown and also to Tom Berryhill, and a number of different letters. They were all different in their scope regarding some of these firearm changes in the law. And I was particularly impressed with the one he sent to the governor. It was very reasonable. But I think the gist of it, I hate to summarize a 2-page letter coming from our sheriff to the governor, but the gist of it was that, California's background checks are already in place. They're already doing a good job. They've already reduced crime by 18–19% over the years, over the last 10-year period of time, and that we don't need to penalize gun owners with these new laws. We need to keep enforcing the laws that are currently on the books, but he was in favor of universal background checks and the type of background checks that we already have here in California. It all sounded very reasonable to me.
I agree with the background checks. For the people that don't understand the laws in California, we go through the same background check and waiting period of 10 days that if you lived in the state of Nevada. The same process is completed in about 10 or 15 minutes.
Right.
Okay. And it's funny, when I go to purchase a new gun, I still have a 10-day waiting period. Even though I'm certified to instruct firearm courses in California, Nevada, and Utah, I'm permitted to carry a concealed weapon in 37+ states. And it goes on and on, but I still go through the 10-day waiting period like somebody coming in to purchase a handgun for the first time. I like the waiting period for a first-time purchaser. I consider it a cooling off period. Okay, so somebody doesn't do something out of the heat of passion, you know, get in a fight with the wife, go down to the bar, have one too many, stop at the pawn shop, buy a gun, go back and shoot her.
Right.
So the 10-day waiting period's a good thing. It's a little ridiculous for somebody that has a number of firearms. If I wanted to do you harm, I'm not going to go buy a new gun to do it. I'll take one of the ones I already have.
Right. California has already had these laws in place. When you see all this national news, it makes it sound like they're all trying to get background checks for the first time when we've had them for 10 years, and they seem to have been working. You know, the big thing is you just don't want people with a mental illness or someone who is in the heat of passion, you know, to get a hold of that firearm unreasonably. But you also don't want to penalize people, especially in a rural county like this, that have a very good reason for having a firearm, for any number of reasons, for protection or safety or anything else.
Our law enforcement gives us the best protection they can with the amount of manpower they have.
Right. Well, I'm way up country. It would take them, you know, a half an hour to get to where I am to begin with. And I think when I first came to Amador County, I was surprised. You know, there were mothers who were dropping off their kids at school telling my wife, hey, you should get a firearm. Everybody was carrying a firearm in their purse. But the sheriff themselves at the time told me, boy, if you're going to live, you know, way up here, your first line of defense, you know, is a firearm. And my neighbors would come up on horseback and say, hey, you know, you've got a firearm up here, right? And I wasn't a big firearm person at the time. But over the years, you know, you obviously you see the need for it. And there's a place for everything, especially in a rural county like ours. And, you know, you brought this list of how many priority bills do they have in here that they're trying to pass now in Sacramento?
Since Sandy Hook, a total of 43 bills have been introduced, 33 are active and have already passed the Senate.
Jeez.
Okay, and unfortunately in California, and folks, please don't mind me looking at my notes, my memory's short. Senators, we have 40 senators in California. We have one vacancy, 25 Democrats, 14 Republicans, totally outnumbered. In the Assembly, we have a total of 80 seats. We have one vacancy, so we have 54 Democrats and 25 Republicans. Anything they want to pass, they're going to pass. We just have to hope that the governor has enough common sense to throw some of these out and hopefully the majority of them out.
Right. Well, people have to rely on the super minority, the Republicans at this point, to at least voice a lot of those concerns. You know, we're going to come back after the break. We've got Butter with us in the studio today with wild animals coming out. She's my first line of protection. The sheriff was wrong. You know, Butter is my #1 protector.
Lick us to death.
Yeah, that's right. She'd lick anybody right to the ground before they could even say hello. You know, we're going to come back. We're going to look at some of the different things. You have some events coming up that are very interesting. And also we have a couple of guns with magazines and different types of things we want to show people and give them a little more familiarity with what's going on out there. But we want to stay tuned, so please come back for the second half and the butter break. And I've got Joe here. We're going to chat a little bit more about firearm safety and classes that he provides here in Amador County. So please stay tuned, and we'll be right back after the break.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.